Welcome to Bless TV. Today we have Vinod Paul and Bob Guilbert from Eze Castle Integration, and they're going to talk to us about cybersecurity and the cloud for alternative asset managers. Now guys, can you give us an overview of the landscape and how you're helping clients deal with increasingly advanced cybersecurity attacks?
So Eze Castle Integration is the leading outsourced IT service provider and cloud provider. We're global in nature, delivering cloud-based solutions for the alternative investment space. We deliver everything necessary for a fund to be able to run their operations in a seamless, integrated way through a computing environment. It's interesting when you start thinking about the cybersecurity space as well and the number of threats that are out there, particularly targeting the investment community. It is enormous and growing, and I think there's a big education part of it that we undertake, Vinod, to basically address those concerns.
Absolutely, Bob. To expand on that, we spend the vast majority of our time educating our client base, and there's a lot of confusion out there on what cybersecurity risks are to a firm. Whether you are on the private cloud or you host your own infrastructure, the threat is the same. Many of our clients are holding institutional dollars and have high-profile clients, and they are a target. And they're a target by individuals who aren't governed by law, and they work around the law. So we spend the vast majority of our time educating our clients on what their risks are externally, but also ensuring that their employees understand what the risks are. Clicking on a link that's malicious, understanding what you're reading, what files you're opening, and even more, ensuring that there are processes in place to protect yourself against spearfishing, which is social engineering to attack your firm from a cybersecurity standpoint.
Yeah, those are great points, Vinod, in terms of the attacks and the methods, because the hacktivists who are basically targeting these funds are looking for any means to gain entry into the fund. And they're malicious in the sense that they'll spend weeks, months, almost years spending their time trying to get into a fund and enabling them to basically get access. The landscape is ever changing. If you think about it, what's happening, there has been a number of attacks that have taken place as recent as we've seen in the last couple of weeks, but it's always an ongoing type of environment where people are getting attacked, particularly in alternative investment space. And it has to do with the fact that rogue nations, rogue countries, rogue hackers that are trying to get into these funds to get assets. At the end of the day, they want wire transfers into their environment, and the market continues to grow. If you think of what the asset base looks like in the hedge fund industry, it's into the trillions of dollars, and it's a very viable target to basically go after.
So give us a little more background into some of the cybersecurity concerns that are facing alternative asset managers, specifically your clients.
So spearfishing, for those who don't know, is really a sophisticated attack on a particular user or group of users within a fund, where the hacker is basically looking to gain entry or misrepresent one or more individuals in the fund to basically have a wire transfer occur. At the end of the day, they're trying to get the funds out from one site to another. So the idea that basically people will create a domain or a URL, if you will, that mirrors exactly what the fund looks like. So they'll inverse a couple of letters, as an example, and then they will send an email from that company representing themselves as the president or the CEO to the CFO saying, I need you to wire money from this account to this account. And the target account is a rogue account in Malaysia or over to Russia. And unless they have the policies in place to basically back up and ensure that there's no means of letting that money going out, the CFO, if they're not clever enough to actually have seen the text and gone through their check and balance, we've seen clients lose money that way.
We spend a lot of time on that education process, but it's not just technology. It's the processes that a firm has. So if you're getting an email from the president of your firm saying, transfer these funds from here to outside the country into Asia, do you have a process in place to ensure that the email is legitimate? The clients that we have that put in the right processes can avoid a spearfishing attack like that.
We talked about spearfishing and how people get burnt that way. There's other techniques that the hackers have used, waterholing techniques, which is probably not unheard of. It's the idea of basically hacking into online ordering menus at restaurants, where someone from the fund will basically order something to be delivered to their office, and by hitting that site, they're actually downloading a payload into their environment. So unless they have true intrusion detection and prevention systems monitoring what's coming into the firm and more importantly, what's going out of the firm, because that's what they're trying to do, is create a path back to move data or information outside of their environment. So waterholing is creating that little access to the online ordering menu that you may not think is a difficult or a bad thing to hit. Oh yeah, I'm going to place my order, but in fact, it really is a place that might be delivering a payload into your environment.
Our clients don't understand. You can put whatever technology, the best technologies in place to protect yourself, but if you have simple passwords, that's right there, an entryway into your environment.
Oh, yeah.
So we talked about the social, putting in order management systems and prime broker systems, and you need access points into each one. And we have clients that think, oh, they have the best password, but they repeat that password for every single account that they have. If it's a simple password, i.e. their child's name or their wife's name, that's an entryway into every single account that you have.
Yeah, we've seen that before. In fact, it's absolutely right, Vinod, where people use the same password, and it's replicated out there, and people think, oh, I'll just use the same one, it's not a problem. However, if it gets hacked in one place, then it's used in others, and that's the worst part.
So what has been done from the SEC from a requirements standpoint regarding cybersecurity and procedures and policies?
So, Greg, back in March of 2014, the SEC put forth an initiative to basically explore cybersecurity across a number of funds. And they had a target of 50 funds with 27 questions that they were trying to collect data to see what the baseline was of how funds are protecting themselves. Obviously, protecting the financial markets are critical, and those questions and how they answer them will give them a good baseline in terms of how they are protected. And the areas that they cover are everything from business continuity plans to written information security policies to basically having proactive measures in place, whether it be at the physical level all the way through to the policy level. So Eze Castle's approach with our clients to help them address the SEC initiatives is basically built around a number of areas. And Vinod, maybe you could cover those areas of things that we're doing around WISP and BCP.
So Vinod, what is a WISP? Can you give us an overview and some background?
Let me just define very quickly what a WISP is. It's a written information security policy. It's not only understanding what your cybersecurity threats are, but also how the firm as the organization responds to that. Much of the time that we spent writing the WISP is having the firm understand where their data resides. And quite honestly, this was an education process for many of our clients because they thought, yes, I have my information in the private cloud and that's all. That's not really the answer because many times a fund will have their information at a fund administrator, a prime broker. So you have multiple points of entry that hold data for our clients. So this WISP helps them identify where that information is, as well as how they're accessing it in a controlled manner, and what to do if there's a potential threat or a leak of data. So proactive active threat management, firewalled, and compliant.
In fact, it all comes down to detection and prevention at the end of the day.
So how are you addressing this changing landscape and these added security concerns that your clients have?
Recently, we've delivered a new service. It's basically called Eze Active Threat Protection. It's powered by a firm called eSentire, which is the leader in cybersecurity management and control for the alternative investment space. And working with them, we've now delivered a platform that allows not only our cloud users, but also the on-premise or the offices or the remote offices to basically be protected equally as well. So we're basically taking both points into effect, the office as well as the cloud environment.
And we touched upon the employees being a potential threat point for cybersecurity. So let me give you a simple example. Some hackers are smart enough to throw out USB sticks around the office entrance, and they'll write important files on there. Employee, not maliciously, can take that in and say, oh my God, what's on this drive, and put that into a computer, and that could create a potential virus or an opening into their environment. This new solution that we've created is specifically to help manage those type of risks.
At the employee level, someone going into a website or a rogue email that they might click on, the active threat protection solution will basically detect it and basically shut it down. In fact, it takes it a step further than that. Working with eSentire, they've developed an alternative management protection solution. So if they discover that there is a hack occurring at one particular fund, they will shut down and block that IP address for all the funds that are their clients. So we get the benefit of that as well.
We know that 90 to 100% of smaller or emerging managers are going straight into the cloud from launch. But what about some of the bigger, more established firms? What are we hearing from them regarding the cloud?
Greg, in the last 24 months, we've seen a dramatic shift in the type of client that's coming to us. And the larger, more established funds are understanding that the technology is secure for a private cloud, and that they're also understanding that as a small institution, they'd have to spend millions of dollars to have the redundancies, the systems in place that can already be attained in a private cloud. So we're seeing adoption. And there are two factors that are really pushing that. One is the refresh cycles of hardware, software, as well as co-location facilities. And the second is when the fund is relocating and they don't want to recreate large comm rooms and have the base set for hosting their own technology. And they've adopted the cloud technology. They understand that private cloud is the best for them, and they're coming to us to move their data as well as their systems to the cloud.
Yeah. In fact, Vinod, I think it takes it a step further. It's a financial decision as well, because it now has moved from a capital expenditure where they have to put out all this money to buy equipment to an operational expenditure where they have predictability in terms of knowing the price per user per month. If they add users, reduce users, that they know exactly what their costs are going to be. So if you look at the profile of these larger funds, 80 plus or 100 plus users, going to the cloud is really a decision that we made that's driven by financials as well as security as well as adoption. There's a number of firms that are adopting the cloud just because of the fact that they know it's secure, they know it's a better financial decision just because of it gives them an operational expenditure view versus a capital view. So we're seeing that adoption happening at a faster rate year over year.
We have thousands of users across our multiple data centers in our private cloud. And what we're able to do that a smaller firm of even 100 or 200 employees can't do is deliver systems that make it more appetizing to be on that private cloud. Collaboration tools like Microsoft Lync, data protection tools like Varonis. For a fund that's 200 employees, it's very costly to implement those systems. But us as an integrator servicing thousands of users, we can deliver that at a very cost-effective manner within that private cloud package.
Yeah, in fact, it takes it a step further that we are delivering a true institutional grade type of computing environment, which is usually very costly. And granted, if you are coming from a larger fund, you might have done that, but they know what the costs are associated with it. So they know that Eze Castle is delivering that out of the gate.
And so what has taken larger firms so long to adopt to the cloud? And why now?
I do believe, Greg, that it's kind of a little bit of a paradigm shift, that people don't understand the fact that clouds themselves are very secure. The way that they're constructed and architected, everything is completely isolated and virtualized such that there's no contamination of any data or any applications between the funds themselves who operate in the cloud. That's first, but also from a cybersecurity perspective, you have the ability to ensure that we put multiple locks on the door, so if someone is trying to get into the environment, they hit roadblocks along the way.
Institutional clients that we have, they're sending individuals to do due diligence on the mechanisms in place, as well as these cybersecurity protections around the private cloud. And they've given that check mark to it. They like the fact that there are multiple layers of security. They've gone to the co-location facilities. They've looked at the technology. They've looked at the third parties that we use for cybersecurity protection, and they've bought on the platform.
More and more general acceptance. If you think about the applications and the vendors that they use that are cloud-driven, the fund administrators are in the cloud, the CRM packages are in the cloud anyway. So now moving your core IT, whether it be your email environments or any other in-house grown applications, moving to the cloud is a nice transformation as it is today. In some respects, many of the funds, the larger funds today, are really getting to the point where they don't want to be dealing with the necessary IT upgrades, the maintenance, the software patches, everything that really is mundane. And they really want to focus on managing money and seeking alpha, right, Vinod?
Absolutely. I would say that the larger funds, why the shift? We're meeting with these firms on a weekly basis. And really what they want to do is go back to their core competency of managing institutional dollars and not managing IT.
You got to be concerned. As a manager, if you leave any door open, you're risking your entire fund and your investors' money in your fund in terms of having it walk out the door. So you need to be putting in place the right measures to protect yourself.
I would say don't take any shortcuts. And when you're managing your money, you're not going to take shortcuts on the systems used to manage that. So why would you take shortcuts in managing the assets that are around that? Don't take shortcuts.